Welcome to Really American. I am Michael Hain. If having a bad week had a face, it would be Trumpty Dumpty. It's unprecedented. In fact, there's now even been news reports of top campaign staffers leaving because they grow weary of Trumpty Dumpty listening to Tweedledee and Tweedledummer, Eric and, me, Don Jr. But now, it gets even worse. A new poll just came out that shows more Americans trust Kamala Harris on the economy than Donald Trump. A new Financial Times poll shows Harris gaining significant ground on Trump on many issues, the most prominent of which is a shift on the economy. This is the first time Democratic candidate is ahead on this issue in nearly a year, which seems utterly bizarre to me. The August poll shows 42% of voters trust Harris to manage the economy compared to 41% who trust Trump. It's a change from July when 35% of voters trusted President Joe Biden, while Trump's percentage amount remained unchanged.
Ask Americans what they believe to be among the most important issues facing the country today, and you may hear a common answer. It's the economy, stupid. That legendary political catchphrase helped propel then-candidate Bill Clinton into the Oval Office back in 1992, and some believe it to be as true today as it was then. According to the most recent data from Gallup polling, 33% of Americans say economic issues are the most important problem facing the U.S. today. And a new poll by the Financial Times and the University of Michigan Ross Business School shows Americans trust VP Kamala Harris more on the economy than former President Donald Trump. But the numbers are tight. News Nation's Alina Shirazi is live at the White House to break it all down. Alina, good morning.
Good morning, Tina. Good to be with you again. We know America's economic health has consistently been a top priority in most polls that we have seen. But while the poll shows Americans trust Vice President Harris more on the economy overall, Americans think they'll be better off financially under a second Trump presidency. That could explain why we're seeing Vice President Harris starting to share her economic plans, and she's sounding more and more like her opponent than you may expect. A new poll by the Financial Times Michigan Ross Business School showing Vice President Kamala Harris gaining ground on President Donald Trump on multiple issues, but perhaps none as surprising as the economy, marking the first time the Democratic candidate is ahead on the issue in nearly a year. The Financial Times Michigan Ross August poll finding 42% of voters trust Harris to handle the economy and 41% for Trump. That's a major change from July when that poll found 35% trusted President Biden, while Trump remained unchanged at 41%. Recent unemployment numbers and stock market volatility have hurt Biden. And Harris is starting to distance herself from the administration, even poaching some of Mr. Trump's plans. In Las Vegas, Harris pushing her plan to cut taxes on tips.
And it is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
But while voters may trust Harris more with the economy, they will trust former President Trump more with their wallets. According to that same Financial Times University of Michigan poll, 42% say they'll be financially better off under a second Trump presidency, compared to just 33% who say the same about Vice President Harris. However, Trump is losing ground there, too. Back in July, 45% said they'd be better off under Trump, while just 35% said they'd be worse off if he retakes the White House, compared to 40% now. Trump on Truth Social immediately on the defense, posting, "Kamala has no imagination whatsoever, as shown by the fact that she played copycat with no taxes on tips." Nick, so we know it will be the economy as well as each candidate's plans that will take center stage this week on the campaign trail. We also know Mr. Trump will sit down for an interview today with tech entrepreneur, the richest man in the world. You may have heard of him, Elon Musk, before barnstorming through North Carolina with his message. We know the Harris Walls team is expected to do the same there in the battleground state of Georgia.
So while this is even more good news for Kamala Harris and her campaign, earlier I mentioned how could any American possibly think Trumpy Dumpty could be better on the economy? Now, this is a dude with multiple bankruptcies, a man whose only successful business, of course, was selling made in China rancid cult merchandise to a bunch of morons and racists. Okay, he inherited a bullish economy from Obama, and he managed to destroy it by deliberately ignoring a plague, doing nothing about it, firing his pandemic council, and presided over the greatest unemployment imaginable. And we also witnessed a massive trade deficit with China. He increased the debt. It goes on and on. Let's look a little bit more about how he essentially inherited Obama's bullish economy.
Welcome back. Data download time. President Trump has repeatedly claimed, as he did again last week, that President Obama handed him a crippled economy and that he built the greatest economy ever. So we decided to fact check that, comparing President Obama's second term with Mr. Trump's first, ending before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. First, we'll start with the broadest measure of economic health, the country's gross domestic product. How much did it grow? In Mr. Obama's second term, the average quarterly growth rate was 2.4%. For Mr. Trump, it was roughly the same, 2.5%. Then there's job creation. On average, there were more jobs added monthly in Barack Obama's second term, 215,000, than there were in Mr. Trump's first 3 years before the pandemic hit, 182,000. Again, both numbers are good, but they're also quite consistent. Until the pandemic hit, there was nothing drastic that changed from one president to the next. What about unemployment? Has President Trump changed that trajectory? The beginning of President Obama's second term, unemployment was already down to 8%. Over the next 4 years, it fell almost in half, down to 4.7%. And yes, it continued to drop under President Trump to 3.5% at the end of 2019, the lowest in 50 years. Again, that's before COVID hit. And then there's the stock market, the indicator President Trump cites most often. The Dow reacts to elections, so we'll start with Election Day 2012. It went from 13,245 to 18,332 on Election Day 2016, a 38% increase in Obama's second term. Again, the rise continued for Mr. Trump, increasing another 56% to 28,538 on the last day of 2019, again, pre-COVID.
Big shocker there that the scumbag who inherited millions from daddy and managed to screw that up also managed to inherit an amazing economy from the guy he spent years harassing and launched a vile, racist conspiracy theory attack in the form of birtherism because he's so hopelessly jealous of Obama. And actually, Biden has had pretty solid economic numbers and has performed better than Trump, too. So it seems that America should be trusting Kamala more in the economy. So it's a good thing they are. Well, I am Michael Hain. This is Really American. If you like our content, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure to follow me on TikTok at Mike Hain Comedian. Talk to you later.